they might disagree strongly with this, but I just feel like when you're seeing the book cover small on Amazon, for instance, or Goodreads or wherever, there's going to be copy next to it. There's going to be a blurb. There's going to be so the cover has to just get the person's attention so that they read it, they blow it up. If they can't see it, they can click on it and make it bigger. Because if we're beholden to that idea, we're only going to be using sans serif, bold fonts.
We are rolling. Welcome, everyone. Brett here with CraveBooks. And today I have a really awesome guest. And I'm really kind of especially excited for this guest. And I'll tell you why in a second. But she has actually been in the trenches at Penguin Random House, one of the big 5 publishing companies. So she has some traditional publishing experience. And she's done over 40 plus book covers. So as you might guess by now, she's a professional book cover designer. Welcome, Laura Duffy. How are you today?
Hi. I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. Now, is 40 plus correct? Is it more? Is there a
I
more
would
specific number?
say it's probably along the lines of 10,000. I mean, I've
Okay.
been doing this for so long, and I wished I had kept count from the beginning because it's probably, but yeah, I've been doing this for a while and it's a lot. It's a lot.
Yeah, I
Over
just that was
40.
the books I found on your website, which by the way
Oh,
is
okay.
super beautiful. So I assumed it was more since you have all this experience.
Yeah.
Um, but let's get into the experience. I'm curious to find out how you got into the traditional publishing world and what is your background, basically.
Well, I kind of got into it by accident. I was on a path to advertising, and then I just kind of fell into a job at Simon and Schuster when I was like basically a kid, and I loved what that world. It was a pretty cool world. So I just kept going and working and creating a portfolio, and then I jumped over to Random House, where I was an art director for 16 years. And then, like a lot of things were volatile. 2008 happened, and I hung on for another 4 years, and then got the boot along with a lot of other very creative, talented people. And so I've been running my own business for um, about 10 years. And like we were talking, at the beginning, I was doing everything, all sorts of things, graphic design, everything. And then I decided to just really settle into what I was good at, where my experience lay, and what I love, which was book covers. And right now, I'm settling down even further into really, really focusing on working with indie authors, people who are self-publishing, and helping them out and supporting them. And I'm learning as much about the industry as I can, not just the book cover design part end of it, but everything, just so that when I have clients, if they have questions, I can do my best to answer them, and perhaps even actually, do some hands-on helping. So,
Awesome. So you went from Simon Schuster to Penguin Random House. What were you doing at each of them?
well, at Simon and Schuster, I started out. I got a really good gig as an administrative assistant or liaison to 4 art directors, and it was. I worked for some really amazing art directors and artists, and it was actually before I came in just as the computers were coming in. I'm totally dating myself. There were dinosaurs walking around. There were, you know, um, and so, but I was really fortunate to get an education there about the technology, about book covers, and I love to read. And it's kind of funny. It's still this thing where I'm one of the few designers that actually reads. I was one of the few people there who read. I love the classics, and I was given those to work on. At first, Edith Wharton were some of my first covers, um, and then you have to evolve. So then I went to Random House. It wasn't called Penguin Random House. It was just called Random House. And I was in the Crown division. And then I worked my way up to becoming an art director. And I worked with, it was a really exciting career. I worked with a lot of high profile people. I have a lot of great stories. I miss that aspect of it. It was a great place to work. Bertelsmann was really a great company to work for, very family friendly, so, but I definitely learned a lot. And what I learned there, I use in how I work with my clients, in this lifetime. All the concept meetings, the thought process, um, all those meetings that were filled with editorial folks and publicity. I just absorb that, and when I'm sitting down with a client, I'm putting different hats on and guiding things that way. So,
Yeah, I think it kind of goes to the learning by doing thing when you're
yeah,
getting into a new industry or whatever, or if you're trying to start publishing your own book. Just do it. Stop watching YouTube videos. I mean, YouTube videos are good,
right.
but
You're great.
just get in there, do it, learn by doing. You're going to make mistakes. You
Right.
probably made plenty of mistakes.
Oh yeah.
Not saying that you made a ton of mistakes, but everyone makes mistakes, and that's how you learn.
Right.
So I think that's like, it's something huge that authors need to realize is just do it, get it out there. Even if it's not great, you're going to learn.
Right. And I think, yeah, you have to, it's scary. I know it's scary. And when I first started working in the self-publishing world, I just jumped in. I didn't know what I was doing. And you just learn as you do. Thank goodness for YouTube, for all the tutorials out there, understanding what Create Space, which is now KDP, and understanding all those things. And they keep changing. Um, and so I don't think anybody has the answer. Everything is just changing, and I do say it's like the Wild West out there in the world of self-publishing. And I think a lot of folks are trying to corral things and organize things and create these safe spaces for authors, so that they can find people who are trustworthy, who know what they're doing, and can help them. But we're all kind of figuring it out as we go along, which is fun, which is exciting, because yeah, it's pretty cool. I think it's a new time where people are making that decision to do it on their own, move away from the bigger houses. With all of the gatekeeping that's going on, people are saying, no, I want to do this myself. And they totally can. They really can. It's if they do the work, it's work.
Yeah. I think definitely now a lot more people, a lot more authors are doing that because
yeah,
the technology has made it so much easier to do that. Whereas 20 years ago, self-publishing a book, you can do it. It's just now
right.
it's so easy. It's ridiculously easy.
Well, it
So
still sounds like it's kind of challenging. It can be overwhelming.
oh yeah,
You can do it. If you really take the time, you can do it. But I do think that the smartest thing that an author can do is hire a good team. I've been saying this since the beginning because of all of the very talented people who are out there. You can put together your own team of editors, artists, and just make the process so much better, so much smoother, and it's worth it. And then you have a book and you want to get it out there, so you rely on people to help you publicize it, market it, inspire you to get out there and do it yourself. And I always say, have fun with it. It's an exciting thing. It never gets old. It's like having a baby, and it's exciting. It's just a party. I'm always like, okay, when's the book party? I want to be there. So,
yeah, that's the thing I think just about stories in general, because there's no such thing as the same story, right? I mean, unless you're copying someone else's
yeah,
story, every story is new and different and novel, which just makes it that much more fun when you're doing it.
yeah,
I kind of want to get into some of your book cover knowledge.
sure.
So, sticking with the traditional publishing, what did you learn from there that you can let authors know? Because I actually had an interview about a year ago with a children's book company, and what he said was they will test their book covers to decide whether they're going to write that book. And I was like, whoa, I just kind of like, even if so they do all their publishing in-house. So they'll have their team give them an idea and a cover, and then they'll test that cover, and if it does well, then they'll go with it. But if it doesn't do well, they'll try a variation. If that still doesn't do well, they'll scrap it.
And they
So
write the book around the cover?
and they have an idea that has come with it,
Uh,
but it's unwritten. So they have that idea, and hey, here's this idea for this book. Let's see what we can come up with a cover, and then we'll go from there.
hmm,
And it just made me realize like how important book covers are, like
right,
almost
right,
maybe just as important as the book itself, because as an indie author who doesn't have that big traditional support behind them, people on Amazon or in the bookstore, I mean, what's going to stop them and make them pick up your book
right,
is
right.
the
Well,
cover.
yeah, the book cover is a poster, an advertisement. It's the packaging, and you know, it is a wonderful thing that people are starting to understand the importance of, especially a professionally designed cover, one that doesn't scream independent, published book. Um, and yeah, there are a lot of tools that people can use to create their own covers, but I think that people are really seeing the difference in that, and it's hard to really, for some people to put their finger on it. You really do have to have experience with typography and making sure something fits and it's obviously in that genre right off the bat, because it is a millisecond. It's, you're scrolling through Amazon, or you're even walking through a bookstore. You just have to know instantly where that book, what kind of book that is, and where it fits, and then when it's a great time to be a cover designer now, because there's so much freedom. um, the creativity is off the charts. I mean, I look at stuff that other people are doing, and I just want to reach out to, and I'll say, that's amazing, that's beautiful. It wasn't always like that. The thing about traditional publishing is there's a lot of fear. Oh, should we publish this book? Oh, we can't do that cover, nobody's gonna pick that up. And that's all changed. Even with the big houses, the creativity is off the charts. And so I think that there's a lot of at the end of the day, I think a beautiful cover really gets people to walk over and pick it up or click on it. The bright colors, just something interesting. And I work hard to do that. I work hard to make every cover different, even if I'm working on a business book or a self-help book. Um, yeah, it's hard. There's a lot of stuff that I know instinctively about what to do. You could talk about font, sans serif, serif, what a business book should look like, what a self-help book should, what fiction, what romance, all of those things. I think some people have a basic idea of that, but then there are a lot of subtleties. There's the type, the subtitles, titles. There's a lot of things that go into putting it all together, so that you don't even notice these things. Um, so
Yeah, no, there's so much stuff that just goes into a book cover, and if you don't have that innate kind of eye for design, it's fine. I mean, like you said, there's so many people out there that can help you out with that.
yeah,
If you do, I would still recommend going to professional. Like I think I have a pretty good eye for design, and I do a lot of things myself. That being said, it's always nice to have the professional there to help me, whether it's just because I don't have the technical background in Photoshop,
right,
because I can only do so much in Canva. I mean, and very limited in Photoshop. But they have all the tools that they need to be successful and help you be successful in creating your book.
right, yeah.
So what are some of I don't know if there's like the 10 commandments of book cover design, or what have you learned in your experience in terms of what makes a good book cover?
Well, I mean, the first, I guess I have to think, okay, some things aren't that obvious, but legibility, and now everybody is concerned with how things look small. And I of course I take that into consideration. But not everything, the most legible type that's small is a sans serif bold type. You can't use that everywhere. You have to make sure that the type reads over the background. A lot of there's a beautiful trend now where there's type woven into art, and that's been doing a lot. It's been done a lot, and I think it's lovely. I think maybe it's time to move on, but there's also, you really have to know what you're doing with that. And a lot of people try to mimic it. And then you can't read the title at all. And even a professional needs somebody else to look at it and say, whether, you can read it, you can understand it. Um, there are times when I've done stuff and I'll go back and I'll think, geez, why did I do that? You can't even read what that says, because you're working, what that word is, and you're working with it, and you're getting really creative. And then all of a sudden it's just,
You
what does
kind of
that
get
even say?
blinded because you've been looking at it so much. That's happened to me where I'm like, oh, this is perfect. And then I come back the next day and I'm like, what was I doing?
Right. What was I thinking?
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's just, and whether things are too big or too small, or emphasizing things, um, you know, uh, yeah, not
So how
everything's the
how
same
would how would
size.
you approach going through the
Hierarchies.
process of designing a book with an author? Is there like, here's the marketability, we have this niche, and then let's take a look at the font or whatever? What's your process for
Yeah,
that?
so what I do is, when somebody first reaches out to me, I describe my process of because a lot of people, it is educating people about the process, that there's communication, that there's a back and forth. And so I describe how I love to read the book and get to know the book as much as much of it as I can read, so that I have a sense of the story, obviously, but the author's tone, the story's tone, the whole feel of it. And then, when I'm sitting down to design, I'm really fortunate that I'm working in a time when I have everything at my fingertips: fonts, images, anything, tools, Photoshop, Illustrator, InDesign, so much stuff. And I could when I'm when I'm reading a story, say it's a novel or a memoir, I'm looking for moments in that story that lend themselves to an interesting cover, something that's bright, that's there, I could work with some colors there, or I could tell such a beautiful story with that tableau or something like that. And then I start choosing my fonts. And with every project, I try really hard to find new fonts that I haven't used before, fonts that, we want fonts that are out there, that are contemporary, maybe trendy, but haven't been overused. Um, and I give an author several different ideas to choose from, but I'm really thinking about what's the genre, who's the market. The author has given me a sense of what tone they want. I don't want anything too dark, or I want bright colors, or I want it to be dark. I want it to be this. We've had this conversation. Um, and then I present them with at least 3 different directions to choose from, and I explain why. And all of them need to be something where if the author chose it, I'd be happy, they'd be happy, and it would serve the book well and appropriately. And then we go back and forth. At that point, we start having a conversation about what they like, what they don't like, how they'd like to move forward, and then I make changes based on that, and we keep going until usually the third round, we're there, and the author is happy, and then we start putting together the full layout, and getting it ready for the printer. And I'll talk about things that are needed, like the back cover copy, and going back to the front cover discussion, a lot of times I do have conversations with authors about copy, about taglines, about subtitles, about titles, and how everything comes together to sell that book. If I feel that their reading line or their subtitle is too long, which I think a long subtitle is a sign of, it's not professional. It's a sign of an indie or self-publishing author, and it has to be succinct, and to the point, And then also, I talk about getting reviews or quotes on the cover, if they could find somebody who'll offer up something that's descriptive. So that's another way of describing or letting people know what's inside the book. that, so these are the things that we talk about so that we get the perfect package. So
I think it's probably, I mean, there's not any one system or process that you can nail down concretely. It's more of a general process because every book is different and every
yeah,
genre is different. So you can't just say, this is where the type goes on this cover. You need to pick image here, here, here,
right.
because every story is different. Like we mentioned earlier, when you're talking to authors and if they show you a book or something, uh, have you seen anything where it's like, hey, that's a no-no? Like, is there any big mistakes that authors have made? Are
Oh
there
yeah.
one, two, three more, or is it just like, hey, just don't do this?
Well, what's rough is when they've come to me and they've said, look, this is what somebody else has done for me, and they've worked with a professional designer, and I think, wow, no, a lot of, they obviously haven't read the book, and they haven't given them, they'll give them several comps that are basically the same. That's a lot of, what I see. And everything, what's important is, and I'm amazed that I can do this with each cover, is to have covers that look different, that are unique. There was a time when, if you're working on a business book, well, this is the font and this is where the image goes and this is where, and now things are crossing over. People just want stuff that's creative, stands out, um, breaking, stepping out of the box, all this stuff. People want that. People are craving that. People need that because you're just trying to scream to get attention. So you have to be creative, and unique.
Yeah, I
You
think
know?
it's ever evolving with self-publishing in general and just
Yeah,
society as we get more progressive.
yeah.
Speaking about screaming out loud to look at me, one of the authors in our Facebook group wanted to know, is there a balance? How do you balance the full book cover size between, he said, the posted size? I'm assuming that's the thumbnail size.
Hmm.
Like, is there a way that you can find a good balance between the two?
Well, occasionally, if I'm working on a book that's going to be just an ebook, I will work small. And I do work small. Like I will I'm working on my screen, and then I'll bring it down and just, okay, let me just check. You can read the author's name, but the author's name might not be that important, but I just want to make sure. But you can't be, tied to that. You can't. And there's going to be other copy. You have to be reminded. And I know this goes, a lot of people, this might, they might disagree strongly with this, but I just feel like, when you're seeing a book cover small on Amazon, for instance, or Goodreads or wherever, there's going to be copy next to it. There's going to be a blurb. There's going to be so the cover has to just get the person's attention so that they read it, they blow it up. If they can't see it, they can click on it and make it bigger. But we can't, because if we're beholden to that idea, we're only going to be using sans serif, bold fonts on every cover. So, and that's going to be a very sad world. So,
It does make sense now that you mentioned that when they look at that thumbnail image, I mean, most of the time you're not going to be able to read the text. What
right.
main idea is just to stop
Yeah.
their eyes, to focus on that little thumbnail, even if they can't read, because it's, like you said, it's right next to
Yeah.
the image,
Right.
which makes total sense. And then working smaller also is a great idea for authors that are
Yeah.
DIYing it, to get an idea of how it's going to look when it's smaller. I would love to, I have so many more questions, but I want to get into some of the book cover feedback. So we had a bunch of authors in our Facebook group volunteer their books. Most of them are published. I think there's one or two that are not published. And just a heads up, do not take this critique negatively. Everything is meant to help you. Who
Right.
knows, maybe it's 5 stars and there's no changes or suggestions, but just remember that this is 100% to help you and
Yes.
improve your book covers.
Right.
So what we're going to do is we're going to look at a book cover, and then some of them you'll be able to tell the genre, but maybe you
Mhm.
can just give a couple suggestions if you have any, and then because I think it's important to know what genre it is, because if you have a book cover that's looks like a romance book, but it's a thriller genre, I
Yeah.
mean, there's a problem there. So when people click
Right.
through, they're probably not going to buy it. All
Right.
right, so let's get into this. I'm going to change our
Okay.
screen a little bit and pull this up. All right, book number 1, Her Deadly End. What do you got for us, Laura?
Well, definitely can see that it's fitting nicely into the genre of a mystery, something spooky, something scary's going on. In terms of the design, I feel like I would just love to get in there and kind of move the house and the art down and make that word, sorry, make the word her, uh, like, I don't know why the word "her" is so small. Usually, you do that with the word "the" or but it should be, "her deadly," and that should all balance out better. Perhaps making the author's name smaller, and then you've got 2 lines that I think are a bit redundant. Like, you could take the word, because 'cause I'm using my hands so much, the balloons just came up. You could take the word "a novel" and move it down, and you're already saying a mystery thriller up there with that tag, with the series tagline up there. You don't
Yeah.
need the second line. And what I see a lot is, people should make I always make those more of a design element. When something's a series, I that needs to stand out, whether it's a band, if that's all you can do, or you do something more creative. I think that that's important, and says, hey, there are more, this is a character I like, or there's more of these, and here's another one. But I think overall, the colors and the artwork, they're doing their job. They're doing their job. They just
Yeah,
need a little
when I looked at it, I thought it was pretty good. Same thing, I think. I mean, I'm not a designer, but in my book, I had a lot of people say, "Hey, there's a lot of empty space at the bottom here."
right.
So what
And
I
why is
did,
her so small? So anyway,
yeah, I put in a little review in there, and it kind of filled it up.
yeah, it could
So
be
yep, but you got
her.
it right. It's a mystery thriller,
Yeah,
serial kill thriller subgenre. All right,
cool.
next one.
Um, so yeah, I mean, I feel like, there could be more done with the typography, the title. Also, again, with the caring for others, that logo, maybe that could be more. It's getting lost, and maybe that could be up in the corner where you could see it. Maybe some of the art could be incorporated into the title. I think, yeah, the typography, the art is cute. It's definitely a children's book. It's doing its
Yes.
job there. So,
Hmm. Yeah. No,
right,
I mean,
yeah,
they do have some extra space at top, so I feel like you could kind of work up there.
yeah,
But yeah, you're right. Children's pretty easy.
right.
All right, next one. We've got the Grumpy Billionaire CEO.
So this to me looks like a business book. I'm not sure what this is. Again, if it's a series or something, I think it's getting buried. Um, yeah, I
Yeah,
think it's
it's a romance, billionaire romance. So
okay.
I now that you say it, I can kind of. I mean, I'm not a romance expert, but definitely see. Hey, this kind of looks like a business book. So I'll
I mean, I
incorporate.
love the photo. I would read it just because this guy's on it, but
Yeah, I mean, super important to make sure that you've got your book cover,
you know your audience.
knowing yeah, yeah, know your audience, and it encapsulates what's in the book.
Right.
Okay. Oh, wrong one.
Rockstar Romance, okay.
Oh, gave it
Uh,
away. What do we got here? Foolish Pride.
oh, this is the Rockstar Romance? Yeah, this illustration is pretty cool. The type just looks like it's been slapped on there, and again, a Sound Master romance novel, you can barely see that. It would be great if the author's name and that were designed, brought up, made more prominent. Yeah, the illustration is great, but the type just needs a lot of work.
Yeah, I
But
mean, I've never been a huge
it
fan of
looks like a romance.
the gray around the white. That's just my preference. But yeah, this type at the top, I think, could use some work. So yeah, that was the contemporary romance, rock star romance. There's so many subgenres: rock star romance, billionaire romance. It's crazy. All right, next one you probably can guess, pretty easy.
A children's book. Yep. Yep. There we go. Looks like the Berenstein Bears. That guy though. I wonder if there's any copyright issues there, but that's not.
That's
not
a
my
whole nother
job.
thing. Yeah.
So.
You got any suggestions on this one?
Oh yeah, typography overhaul.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So
Typography. Yeah, there's a lot of space down below.
yeah, it could be. And there's certain things, story and pictures. I don't know if it would be. It should be more appropriate by written and illustrated by Keith Williams.
Yeah, I do like the sound of illustrated by rather
Yeah.
than pictures by.
I mean, that could be, sometimes in the UK they say things differently.
That's true.
Like they'll say I've noticed on magazine articles, it'll say words by. Like, oh, okay.
Yeah, illustrated sounds so elegant to me.
Yeah.
Yep, that was children's. Next one we've got another billionaire.
Another business book. Another sexy business book, And again, if that's like that second, that should be bold. That should be up there. That whole, if that's a series, people want that. People love that, regardless of what the cover looks like. That's something that's really being buried. So.
Yeah, I've seen in the romance books that I've seen a lot of shirtless men. So.
Yeah,
I don't know how you can mesh that with work and shirtless. Maybe the shirt, the buttons are coming undone a little bit.
Yeah, this doesn't, I don't know. It looks almost scary, but whatever floats your boat. But yeah.
And remember, everyone out there, that this is intended to help you. We're not trying
Right.
to disparage anybody. Take all comments with a grain of salt.
Right.
Or
But I
you can take.
definitely. Sorry to interrupt you, but
Yeah,
I
go ahead.
think that I don't know if this book and the other one that I had said looks like a business, if they're together, if they're by the same author or company or whatever, if they're trying to do a series look, I could see that they're on track with something they want, but they really need to highlight that this, push that up there, or however you want to design it, really make it clear that these are these romance novels, they're a series, there's this type, and that'll just help things, immensely, to just seem like they're, professional, serious books. So
Yeah. So romance, billionaire romance, not business. Unfortunately, I know you've been looking
business
for business
romance.
books. Business romance. Technically, yes.
There's a category.
All right, next one.
Yeah, this looks like science fiction or children, young adult.
Yeah.
Again, the series is, people kind of, I guess, don't realize how important that is, especially with, we talk a lot when I'm talking with authors who are doing series. We talk about how to convey the book's order, so people know what they read. Book one, book two, book three. It's going to be on the spine. It's going to be on the back, and yeah, I would really highlight that Chosen Defenders series. But otherwise, the art looks very AI, which I have a hard time with, but I think other people might not care. But otherwise, I think that the type looks cool.
Yeah, overall, I
Nailed
mean,
the
I
genre.
like this one. I when I first looked at it, I was like, I wanted to say science fiction, I wanted to say fantasy, but for some reason I was like, what is the genre that I'm looking for here? And supernatural. That makes sense.
Supernatural, right?
Yeah, totally makes sense. I don't read a lot of supernatural, which is why I couldn't think of the word.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, but definitely, if you have a series, make sure people know that it's a series. That way, they like it, they go to the next one.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a
All right,
marketing tool. Yeah.
let's get in for, we got two more. I don't want this to run too long. This one, ignore the graininess. It was a small thumbnail.
Okay.
And I think it's unpublished because I was not able to find the genre.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Is this supernatural? I don't know what's going on here.
That's what I was not sure on the genre. I'm thinking it's kind of a I don't know what the genre would be, a homely fiction, kind of homeward bound
Is it a
type of thing.
memoir? Right. Is it a memoir about a dog who was struck by lightning and you're writing? I don't know. I don't, yeah, this needs yeah.
And I think it might be difficult sometimes for yourself to give good concrete feedback when you don't know what the book's about.
Right. Yeah. No, and
So
there's a lot of font things here that are wrong. Yeah, I don't want to like start trashing.
what would you do differently with the font in this?
Well, I would, the handwritten might be good, or the might be good for the title only, but I wouldn't use it with the author's name, and I wouldn't combine the fonts that with the pause across the water and that. So there's those two fonts just don't go together, and I wouldn't use them, period. So yeah, keeping, one rule that you could say is to limit the amount of fonts that you use on a cover. Some people say limit them to 3. Most people are firm about limiting them to 2. I try to use a serif and a sans serif. Sometimes I cheat a little bit if I'm, talking about smaller copy. I will think about a small serif font, or a font that will look good at a smaller size, even if I've used a different serif font for, say, the author's name or the title. If that font doesn't read down, even of a novel or a reading line, I'm like, nobody's going to notice that I've used Garamond, so.
Yeah, no, I would agree with that. Just from what I've done, 2 to 3. I mean, once you get past 3, it starts getting a little all over the place and just feels hectic. All right, last one, because we are running out of time.
Well, this is a good example of how the background is so busy that you cannot see the title. And, aside from the design, if I were, working with this, I would add some kind of drop shadow, maybe a panel. I would do something if I was told I had to use that art. Yeah,
I do like the background, but yeah, I totally agree with you. It takes away from the title.
Yeah. And and there's some really rough kerning. Kerning is the spaces between the letters with the W and the O, and that's a big no-no. So yeah.
Okay.
This could get
perfect. Well, this one was a Christian nonfiction with worship. I kind of gives it away.
Yeah, I mean,
you
know what it is. It's really good. Yeah, it's nailing that genre there. So
yeah, exactly. I do have more books, but I don't want to take up too much of your time. I would love to do this all day. I do want to get into one more thing, kind of rapid fire questions. To put you on the spot here.
All right, let's go.
All right. So, would you rather design a cover for a well-known best-selling author with little creative freedom, or have complete creative freedom on a new author's debut book?
Well, I've had the experience. I've spent much of my career working with best-selling authors with little creative freedom, and I love the creative freedom and working on a new author's debut book for so many reasons.
It's just so much fun to work with a new author. That's
debut book. It's just a wonderful thing. Yeah.
All right. Would you rather have to incorporate a hidden cat into every book cover you design, or a secret message that only a few can decipher?
The cat. I'm a cat person.
I actually incorporated a hidden smiley face into all the pages on my book, but a cat might be a little tougher.
Yeah.
All right. With these ones, we're going quick. We're going to finish the sentence. When I start a new book cover, the first thing I usually do is
look through images, or write down. I start sketching out things as I'm reading.
The most unusual source of inspiration for my designs have been.
Um, the outside world as I'm walking around, seeing
Remember that.
things.
Go for a walk if you're struggling.
Yeah, you never know what's gonna, yeah.
If I could redesign the cover of any classic book, it would be.
Oh. That's such a good question. And I've done that. I redesigned The Great Gatsby.
Oh, that's awesome.
But there's a lot of those out there. Oh, I don't know. That's a tough one. Sorry, but that would be fun to do, and that would be a really great exercise.
I would love to do if you give a mouse a cookie. That would be mine.
Yeah. Aw.
One design trend I think is overrated in book covers is.
I think the design trend is to have design trends. I think that what kind of irks me is when somebody does something that's amazing and people keep copying it and they keep doing it until it's beaten to death, and then it's not new and fresh anymore. Um, but there's just so many beautiful things. I mean, yeah, yeah.
You don't
Um,
need to follow the trend just to have a great book cover.
right, right, yeah.
The biggest challenge in book design is often.
Convincing an author. I mean, I'm having less of a challenge with this now because I really try to get authors to trust me and to motivate them to have a selling book cover. But the biggest challenge is to get authors to overcome their fears around choosing a book cover that might be maybe a little bit too bold for them, or they had something in mind that they wanted and they want to stick to it. And sometimes, you have to pick your battles.
I think
So,
take a chance. You can always redesign it. It's not going to be
right,
there forever.
yeah, yeah.
All right, last one. The most important aspect of a book cover, in my opinion, is.
That it's creative and unique and bold. Stands out. Yeah, it's a work of art. I really try everything I do. I want it to be a work of art, stand on its own.
Yeah,
So
I would agree. Make sure it stands out because the whole idea of the book cover is to get them to stop.
it's got a
That's it.
job to do.
It's not you're not trying to sell them with the book cover. You're
Right,
trying to get them to stop. So if you're thinking,
right,
I need to sell them with this book cover, stop thinking that.
right, right,
Stop. Let them read the back cover, maybe
right.
a couple of the first pages. That's what's going to
Yeah,
sell them on the book.
right. Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
Thank you so much, Laura. This has been
You're
amazing, and I
welcome.
would love to keep going. Hope maybe we can have you on again sometime
Sure.
and do some more.
Yeah, we could
Um,
have a
what do you
regular.
have going on? Where can people find you?
Yeah, take a look at my website, lauraduffydesign.com. And that's where all my stuff is. And, not everything makes my website. I really try to curate stuff that I'm especially proud of. I put up there. I've been posting a lot on social media, on LinkedIn, getting a lot of energy there, Instagram. So yeah, I've got, a lot of good, fun projects coming up. A lot of people's books are coming out now. There's a lot of stuff that I'm going to be announcing soon. I'm really excited about that we've just been working towards. So yeah, it's a good time. It's fun.
Yeah, and like I said, I went to her website and looked at the 40 of the 1,000 books she's done, and
I know it
uh,
might have a
you
lot too
you
much on there. I don't know.
you you can tell when a book cover is good and when a book cover is so
Yeah.
check her site out, and she's open for business.
Yeah, always,
Okay,
always open for
perfect.
business. So thank you so much. This was really a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
No, thank you so much.
Um,
It was amazing, and hopefully we can have you back, like I said. So thank you again, Laura.
Definitely.